Wade and I live in Los Angeles. We work in the social media landscape. We're surrounded by numbers and we're surrounded by comparison all the time, the time. It's really easy in social media to get caught up in the comparison because it's human nature. It's not anyone's fault. It's just, we're all trying to be our best out there and we're all ambitious and, we all want to do a lot in the world, but you really have to boil it down to like your why and your reason. I had an experience, and this is a story I'll share because I just recently had this experience last weekend. We were in Arizona for a mountain bike race, and a mom reached out to me on Instagram. She had been following me for a couple years now. She reached out and told me that her 4-year-old daughter has alopecia and she's been really struggling with it lately. And she asked if I would meet with her. And so we met with Addie, who's 4 years old, for several hours.
Well, she had never seen another person look like her.
Yeah, she had never seen
in real life
another girl with alopecia ever. And so it was a really impactful moment for her. And I broke down crying. Her mom was crying. Addie's just like, oh my gosh, you're bald. I'm bald. We look the same. Like, you look like me. It was this crazy moment. And I have had many moments similar to that throughout my journey with alopecia. And I've worked on other girls with alopecia and done their makeup. I've had those impactful experiences, but this one was really special because it was just such like this tangible reminder of how important it is to focus on the why and to try and have so much positive impact on other people, because nothing else matters. If I do the best makeup look in the world and it goes out there and I feel good about it, it stops there. And that's fulfilling my own ego. That's for me. But what are you doing out there in the world to make an impact in a positive way on other people? I could cry right now talking about it because I just like seeing Addie's face light up and be like, I'm not alone in this. And we are in this together, you and me. It's like that's why. That's the reason to do anything and to be really focused in on why you're doing anything, especially on social media. Like, who cares about how many people follow you? Sometimes I have to remind myself and be like, imagine if you stood in a room and 20 people were in a room. Maybe you get 5 likes. That's 5 people. Like, the numbers don't equate to human connection. But if you zoom out and be like,
5 people are standing there listening.
15 people liked anything that you're doing. Put those 15 people in a room and think about that impact. Like, that's really important to think about, because social media has kind of become this machine of like attention and all this stuff out there. But like, it's not. We're real people and we're all affecting each other. And that is like, that's super, super, super important to think about. So
I think what you're saying is it's about this why and the one person you changed. You brought your why into it, which is all that you can bring. And then you just changed the one. That is so mind-bogglingly more important than all these other numbers. So Wade, how about you? Talk to us about the why and the one.
Yeah, in regards, I was just going to chime in there with the one. I think it's important to remember that if you really focus on that why and hone in on just affecting like that one person, if it becomes a meaningful, impactful moment for that one person, it's almost inevitable that one multiplies. And then that becomes, you know what I mean? Like, if you're able to tap into just one person that really, like, I would way rather have one person really connect with what I'm doing and really be about that message than 100 people that are kind of like lukewarm, like, I don't know, because the chances of those 100 people becoming advocates of that same message is so much lower than if that one person is like, okay, I'm your guy or I'm your woman or I'm whoever for you. I just want to be that person to go spread more of that. It's like you are making so much more of an impact that then becomes like a movement. And I think that contagiousness, the snowball effect, happens at a faster rate when you really get that. Like, and we saw that with that story Abby just told. It's so true. Like, that young girl, like, she'll never forget that moment. And as she gets older, she's going to now go into the world with that perspective that Abby gave her and change more people's lives and other girls that will become young girls to her. And that's the beauty, I think, of what we're talking about here, is honing in on that like the meat and potatoes of it all, right? Like the stuff that really is going to ground it and hold it, and then goes way beyond the social media metrics, goes way beyond all the kind of superficial side of that stuff, where it's a little bit more impactful to look at the real movement on the ground that you're having. And for me, it's been the same as Abby too. It's like when you see someone who really connects with that message and becomes an advocate for it, it's almost like you've created someone for life, you know?
You created a generational change.
Yeah, totally.
Think about the social media postings where you might get one like or one comment that's really strong, right? There are times when we say, "Oh, I'm never going to post on that again because I only got one like or one comment," right?
Mhm.
Whereas maybe that one person will go out and change the lives of many because of the way you
Exactly.
inspired them.
Exactly. Let's say that one person goes off to be like a Nobel Prize winner or something, right? Like because of your one movement there, you literally altered the course of their life, that person goes on to change the world.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, how we look at a lot of the work that we do is,
Yeah, and it's like it's important to ignore the numbers because everyone is doing something important and impactful out there in so many different ways. But it is important to like look past the numbers, and like it's the reason I have to hide my likes because I can't. I don't want to think that's distracting. You know, it's distracting what you're trying to do. So yeah,
I think that's a really important tip here is that for anybody who's, let's say, and we're not talking to people who are trying to change the world necessarily. We're trying to people who are trying to make the food bank, local food bank more successful, or,
Totally.
make the bottle drive for the Girl Scouts more successful. It's the same, right? It's the same principle. Instead of, measuring your success by some number, just measure it by the hearts and minds that you expanded.
Totally.
Yeah, and like it's important to remember that like we never used to have this comparison metric before. This is a really new human experiment that we're all a part of that like I never used to be able to compare with numbers how someone else's impact, and maybe it's not even an impact. Maybe it's just a video that's just for attention. It's not even real, but that gets more viewership, like, and that gets measured as successful. Like, number one, who's to say that? So you have to just completely forget about those numbers when it comes to what you're focusing on, what you're trying to create and bring into the world. Because sometimes the most impactful, important stuff, it doesn't get attention. It doesn't get seen in the same way. So yeah, it's a new thing, and it's a weird part of the human experience.
Yeah.
It's really new.